My family ignored my engagement, so I didn't invite them to the wedding. Please stay with me as I tell my story. And please, do not forget to support our channel by subscribing to our channel, liking our videos, and sharing your loved ones. Your support means the world to us. Now to our story. I stared at my phone, still hoping for something that clearly wasn't coming. It had been a full week since I shared the news in the family group chat. We're engaged. Ring, complete with a photo of the ring and me smiling so hard my cheeks hurt. They replied, sure. A few dry congrats messages, a heart emoji from my aunt, and a thumbs up from my dad. But not a single call. Not even a follow-up text asking how he proposed. Nothing. A couple days later, someone dropped a picture in the same group, my cousin's new golden retriever puppy. The chat blew up. 20 messages in an hour. OMG, he's so cute. What's his name? When can we come see him? They even planned a get-together for that weekend to meet the dog. That's when it really hit me. They cared more about a dog than my engagement. I sat there with my phone in my lap, trying to talk myself out of crying, telling myself I was overreacting, being dramatic. But it wasn't just the engagement. It never is, right? I started thinking back. My cousin had a gender reveal last year. They rented a whole venue, and the entire family flew out for it. They brought gifts, took family photos, made speeches. My mom cried when the balloon popped pink. Me. I turned 28 last fall, and they forgot. My sister sent a late text 2 days later saying, oh shoot, happy belated. That wasn't new either. They've always acted like I'd be fine on my own. Like I didn't need the same love, the same attention. I was the strong one, the independent one. But strong doesn't mean I don't feel it. When I told my fiancé what happened, he just looked at me and said, so stop inviting them into moments they clearly don't care about. I couldn't stop thinking about that. Why was I giving people front row seats in my life when they didn't even glance up from their phones? So when I started planning the wedding, I did it without them. No save the dates. No invitations. No updates. I didn't even tell them the date. And for the first time in my life, I felt something I'd never felt around them. Peace. I used to think it was normal to sit quietly at the dinner table while everyone else talked over me, to have my stories brushed off, or worse, barely heard. I didn't realize until much later that I wasn't just quiet. I was being left out. It started young. My older sister had this big Sweet 16, rented hall, DJ 3-tier cake, the whole family flying in. I still remember her blowing out candles while everyone cheered like she was a celebrity. When I turned 16, I got a homemade cupcake from my mom and a text from my aunt saying, hope it's a good one. No party. No cake beyond that tiny one. No gifts. Just a passing mention at dinner. When I brought it up, I was told, you're not really the party type anyway. That's how they always were with me. My family called me the low-maintenance kid. I learned later that was just a nicer way of saying the one we can ignore without consequence. If someone else had a crisis, a breakup, a missed job opportunity, the whole house rallied. If I was struggling, they'd say, you'll figure it out. You always do. There was one Christmas, I must have been 19, when they handed out gifts and forgot mine. I sat there pretending I didn't notice. When someone finally asked where mine was, my aunt went pale and said, oh no, I must have left it at home. I nodded like it was fine, like I believed her. But we both knew there was no gift. Even then, I didn't say anything. I just smiled and kept helping to pass out other people's presents. That's the role I always played. Helpful, quiet, easy. The one who understood. They never really saw me. If I had something exciting happen, like getting into grad school or getting promoted, they'd say, that's great, and move on. But when my cousin got a part-time job at a coffee shop, it turned into a full family celebration. We're so proud of you, they told her. I didn't even get a text when I passed my board exam. It hurt, but it was the kind of hurt that settles deep, quietly, like background noise you learn to live with. So when they ignored my engagement, it wasn't new. It was just another chapter in the same story. This time, though, I decided I wouldn't let them write the ending. We met in grad school. Nothing dramatic. No fireworks. Just two people who kept sitting near each other in the library until it stopped being a coincidence. He was easy to talk to. Calm, patient. I was used to people interrupting or talking over me. He just listened. Actually listened. One day, out of nowhere, he asked, how was your day? I remember freezing for a second. Not because it was such a rare question, but because he actually waited for an answer. Like he really wanted to know. That's when it started. Not some fast, sweeping romance. Just tiny moments that added up. We became friends. Real friends. He brought me coffee when I was stressed. I helped him edit his essays. Slowly, it turned into something more. With him, I never had to shrink myself. I didn't have to earn space. It was just given. I could talk, complain, cry, and he wouldn't tell me I was too sensitive or being dramatic. He let me be a full person, not just the version of me that was easiest to deal with. It took him maybe 3 months to notice something my family never had. You go quiet when you talk about them, he said one night after dinner. Like you're trying not to take up too much space in your own stories. That hit harder than I expected, because it was true. He met them once, briefly. We stopped by a family cookout, and I could feel myself folding in as soon as we arrived. I stayed quiet, let my sister dominate the conversation. I was barely introduced. He held my hand the whole time, not in a sweet, romantic way. In a grounding, I've got you way. On the drive home, he didn't say much. Just one question. Why do you let them treat you like this? I didn't answer him. Not then. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. No one had ever asked me that before. Not in that way. It wasn't judgmental, just honest, curious. He wasn't trying to fix me or fix them. He just wanted me to see what he saw, that I didn't deserve to be ignored, that I had spent so long surviving emotional scraps. I didn't know what it felt like to be full. And slowly, just by being who he was, he helped me realize something. I wasn't the problem. They were. I reserved a table for 8. Just a quiet engagement dinner. Nothing big, nothing fancy. My fiancé and I invited a few friends and my immediate family. I wanted them to feel included, even though they'd barely reacted when I shared the news. My parents said they'd come. My sister said she might swing by, depending on her schedule. No one seemed excited, but I still held out hope. I picked the restaurant carefully, one they liked, mid-price, casual. I even got there early, just to make sure everything looked right. My fiancé kept telling me not to stress, but I couldn't help it. I wanted one evening where I didn't feel like an afterthought. Our friends arrived on time. We ordered drinks, made small talk, laughed. But every few minutes, I glanced at the door. Checking. Waiting. 20 minutes passed. Then 40. I checked my phone again. Nothing. No missed calls. No texts. I finally sent my mom a quick message. Hey, are you guys still coming? No reply. An hour in, we just started dinner without them. My smile felt forced, and I kept looking at the empty seats like maybe they'd appear if I hoped hard enough. Halfway through dessert, I opened Facebook out of habit. There it was, a post from my dad. A group photo at my cousin's baby shower. He captioned it, "Great day celebrating family." My stomach dropped. They hadn't forgotten. They chose not to come. I excused myself from the table and walked outside, shaking. I called my mom. She answered with a casual, "Hey, what's up? What's up?" I repeated, "You said you were coming to the engagement dinner." There was a pause. Then, "Oh yeah, we didn't realize it was tonight. The baby shower ran late." That was a lie. I had confirmed the date with her twice. She RSVP'd. She even said she was looking forward to it. I didn't yell. I just said, "You didn't even text." She sighed. "It's been a long day. Can we not do this right now?" That was it. The switch flipped. No more begging. No more excuses for them. No more pretending their silence wasn't loud. I went back inside, sat down beside the man who chose me, and smiled for real this time. They made their choice. I would make mine. We started planning the wedding the next week. Just the two of us. No big announcement, no group chats, no updates. We made a list of the people who had truly shown up for us. The friends who called, the mentors who listened, the ones who celebrated with genuine joy. That list didn't include a single blood relative. We chose a quiet beach town a few hours away. Nothing flashy, just peaceful, private hours. The venue was a little inn with string lights in the courtyard and the sound of waves just down the path. It felt like the opposite of everything I'd grown up with. No pressure, no performance, just real love. When my mom texted, "Any updates on the wedding plan? Need help?" I replied, "Still figuring things out." I left it vague like I always did. That used to be a survival tactic. Now it was just strategy. We picked a simple menu, ordered the cake from a local bakery, and I found a dress online that made me cry the moment I tried it on. Not because it was fancy, but because it felt like me. Sometimes the guilt crept in, late at night. A little voice asking, "Are you really going to leave them out?" But then I'd remember the birthday they forgot, the dinner they skipped, the time they told me to stop making everything about myself, when I cried over being excluded. I wasn't cutting them out to punish them. I was finally choosing peace. I wrote my vows one quiet morning at our kitchen table. I cried through most of it, not from sadness, but relief. Because for the first time, I wasn't planning something just to make everyone else happy. I wasn't managing their moods, their judgments, their opinions. I was just writing about love and hope, and all the little ways he made me feel seen. We sealed the envelopes and mailed the invites to the people who mattered. It was a short list, but every name meant something. I didn't send one to my parents, or my sister, or anyone who only showed up when it was convenient. I didn't need their approval. I didn't even need their presence. I never knew planning a wedding could feel like healing, but it did. And with every detail we chose together, I felt more sure of one thing. This time, I wasn't building a moment for them. I was building it for me. The sky was still dark when I woke up on the morning of our wedding. The air was cool and salty. The kind of quiet that makes you feel like the world paused just for you. We chose a sunrise ceremony on a cliffside, overlooking the ocean. No grand chapel, no flower arches, just the waves and the sky and the people who truly loved us. I got ready in a little room at the inn with my best friend zipping up my dress and holding my shaking hand. Not from nerves, just disbelief that it was actually happening, that I had made it here, without them, that it still felt full. Instead of my dad, I asked my old college advisor to walk me down the aisle. She had seen me at my worst and reminded me who I was when I forgot. She smiled at me the whole walk down, proud, steady. And then I saw him, my fiancé, standing there in the morning light, eyes locked on mine like I was the only person in the world. Every seat was filled with people who chose us, friends who had become family. No judgment, no fake smiles, just joy. I wasn't bracing for cold shoulders or awkward tension. I wasn't holding my breath, waiting for someone to say something cutting. I could just be present. I could just be happy. We read our vows as the sun peeked over the water. His voice shook when he promised to never let me feel invisible again. I promised to stop hiding and let myself be fully loved. When we kissed, the crowd actually cheered. Loud, messy, emotional cheers, not the polite kind. It was real. At breakfast, my best friend gave a toast. She looked at me and said, "Family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up. And you, my friend, have built a damn good one." I laughed through my tears. Our first dance wasn't choreographed. We just swayed barefoot on the grass while the ocean wind tangled my hair. It didn't matter how it looked. It felt right. It felt like closing the door on every time I had to shrink myself to make others comfortable. And for once, finally, I wasn't an extra in the background of someone else's big moment. For once, I was the main character. I posted one photo. Just one. It was me and him standing on the cliff after the ceremony, barefoot in the morning light, smiling like we'd just created our own world. I didn't write a dramatic caption. Just married. Peacefully. Completely. It took less than 2 hours for the storm to start. First was a message from my mom. "You got married? Without telling us?" Then my aunt. "What the hell is wrong with you? Your parents are devastated." My sister sent a wall of texts I didn't bother to finish. The line that stood out was, "You humiliated us." I sat on the couch, rereading them all. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. I just felt tired. I typed back to my sister. "I didn't humiliate you. I just didn't invite you." "That's not the same thing." She responded, "We're your family. You don't do this to family." So I sent one message. That was it. "You excluded me for years." I returned the favor once. She didn't reply after that. My cousin, surprisingly, DM'd me late that night. "Honestly, you kinda deserve to have your moment. Our side of the family can be a lot." I didn't know what to say, so I just replied, "Thanks for saying that." The truth is, none of them were mad because they missed me. They were mad because they weren't centered. Because for once, they weren't part of the spotlight. They didn't care about my vows or the peace I felt, or the fact that I was finally, actually happy. They just didn't like how it looked from the outside. A few of them posted passive-aggressive things online. Some people forget who raised them, and family isn't disposable. But I didn't respond. I had already said everything I needed to by not inviting them. And deep down, I think that's what hurt them most. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I didn't demand to be seen. I just walked away quietly and built something better. They didn't like the mirror I held up. But I wasn't holding it for them. I was holding it for me. She asked to meet for coffee. Said she just wanted to talk like adults. I almost didn't go, but part of me wanted closure, or at least to see if she'd finally say something real. I got there early, picked a table near the window. She showed up 10 minutes late, sunglasses on, lips tight. She didn't hug me, just sat down and said, "You blindsided us." I stirred my coffee. "You didn't ask if I was okay for years. Why would I tell you about the wedding?" She didn't like that. Her mouth pressed into a thin line. "We just thought you were fine on your own. You always seemed capable." I nodded slowly. "That's the problem. You thought. You never asked." She sighed like I was being dramatic. "You made your father cry." I almost laughed. He didn't even text me after the engagement. She leaned forward, whispering like the whole cafe was listening. "You ruined this family." That's when I looked her right in the eye. "No. I just stopped pretending everything was fine." "That's not the same thing." She blinked fast, trying to stay composed. I could see the guilt creeping up, but she kept pushing. "You didn't give us a chance to be there for you." I smiled, but not kindly. "I gave you 28 years of chances. You were just never looking in my direction." She got quiet then. Really quiet. The kind where it finally sinks in that this version of me doesn't bend anymore. She wiped at her eyes with a napkin. I didn't cry. I'd done enough of that already. "I didn't come here to fight," she said softly. "Neither did I replied. "I came to tell you that I'm not angry. Just done." She looked down. I stood up. Before I left, I said, "Next time you think of me, remember who you raised." I walked out into the sun, and for the first time after a talk with her, I didn't feel drained. I felt free. Life feels different now. Quieter, but in the best way. I wake up next to someone who sees me. Not just tolerates me, not just deals with me, really sees me. We make coffee together, argue over what show to binge, spend Sundays with friends who laugh too loud and hug too long. There's no more walking on eggshells. No more forced smiles across holiday tables, pretending not to notice when I'm overlooked or ignored. This year, Thanksgiving was with our friends. We made too much food and played board games until midnight. I didn't spend the night silently shrinking while someone talked over me. I didn't leave feeling invisible. Sometimes, a text from my mom still pops up. A random photo. I hope you're well. I don't always reply. Sometimes I type something out and delete it. Not because I'm angry, just because I don't owe them anything anymore. They made it clear how little space I took up in their world. I finally stopped trying to carve out room in there. I talked about it with my therapist not long ago. I told her I still feel strange sometimes, like I should miss them more than I do. Like maybe I'm broken for not wanting them back. She said, "You don't miss them. You miss the idea of them. You grieve the version of family you needed and never got. That grief set you free." And she was right. I don't hate them. I just don't need them anymore. I used to believe something was wrong with me, that if I just tried harder, stayed quieter, did more, they'd love me the way I wanted. But now I know they loved a version of me that didn't ask for anything. And I'm done being that version. Now I make my own peace. In the way we decorate our little apartment. In Sunday dinners full of chosen family. In being loved without conditions. Sometimes peace looks like distance. Sometimes love looks like drawing a line. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop knocking on a closed door. They may still only love the version of me they can ignore. But I love the version that finally walked away. If you've ever sat quietly at a table full of people who were supposed to love you and felt completely alone, this is for you. If you've ever shared good news and got silence in return. If you've clapped for everyone else but never heard them clap for you. If you've convinced yourself they just forgot, or they're busy, or maybe it's your fault for needing too much, this is for you too. Let me say something clearly. You are not hard to love. You were just surrounded by people who didn't know how to. Stop waiting for them to change. Stop hoping one day they'll see you the way you've always seen them. Change what you accept. It's terrifying, I won't lie. Drawing that line, saying enough. It feels like setting fire to something you've clung to your whole life. But here's what they don't tell you. Once the smoke clears, the air is easier to breathe. You don't need a dozen people pretending to love you. You need a few who actually do. It doesn't have to be loud or angry. You don't have to explain yourself 100 times. You don't need them to understand. You just need to choose yourself. Even if no one claps. Even if no one follows. I didn't cut them out of spite. I cut them out to survive. I invited the people who made me feel safe. The ones who laughed with me, cried with me, showed up when they didn't have to. My family just didn't make the cut. And you know what? That's okay. You deserve to be the main character in your own life. You deserve to stop begging for crumbs and start expecting a seat at the table. Or better yet, build your own table. There's no perfect ending. No magic solution. But there is peace. And there is freedom. And sometimes those are worth more than any family name. So if you're reading this and nodding quietly to yourself, I see you. You are not a footnote. You are the whole damn story.